What's up, everybody? Hope everyone is having a great day, staying safe out there. We have an outstanding show tonight. I cannot wait. I'm very excited. Some of our first guest will come on around 6, waiting for his phone call, and then we'll kick things off. Coach Hector Clavijo out of Champagnat Catholic School in Hialeah, Florida. He's the reigning 2019 state champion. This high school has produced players such as Jesus Machado, who's committed to Tulane. He'll be enrolling this season. Jalen Harrell, our coveted commit. And also Gregory Rousseau, as we all know. A lot of people have been comparing him to Chase Young. Potentially can be a top 10 first-round pick. Had about 13 sacks this past season or more. So it's a high school that has produced a lot of local talent in recent years. I believe their district is 2A. So he will be coming on. We'll be talking some high school football and his time as a head coach, coaching these two great high school players in Jalen Harrell, Gregory Rousseau, and other players as well that play in Power 5 schools like Malik Rutherford, for example, who's down at Georgia Tech. Then at 7 p.m. Eastern Time, Brian Monroe, former Miami Hurricane punter and NFL punter as well, will be joining the live show. Cannot wait for Brian Monroe to come on. He does, I think, do post-game interviews with 560 WQAM after the games for the Miami Hurricanes in the locker room. So be very cool to have Brian Monroe on. And Coach Clavijo, I believe this is him. Coach Clavijo, how you doing today, sir?
Hey, how's it going, man? I'm doing great.
Great to hear, man. How's your family holding up during these interesting times at hand?
We're doing great, man. It's control, right? So, that's what I preach to the kids. That's what I preach to my family.
Right.
We're doing what we can. We're doing what we can, and not only the pandemic, but now this water that's falling on us right now is unbelievable.
I know. Are you in the Hialeah area? I'm in Coral Gables, and it's been raining every day.
I'm in North Miami Beach.
Oh, okay.
It is brutal. I mean, I'm on Biscayne, and
nice.
I'm doing 4 miles an hour, and it's bad.
Oh wow, yeah, man.
There's water everywhere.
Yeah, no, I know. I hear you, man. It's been crazy. It's kind of like Noah's Ark is coming or something like that.
Yeah, it's unbelievable.
Oye, pero introduce yourself to all the viewers watching, Coach Clavijo, because what you've done with Champagnat Catholic. I mean, hell of a job, man. So just kind of give yourself a quick bio to anyone that's not familiar with Champagnat Catholic out of Miami-Dade.
Yeah, so Hector Clavijo, head coach, Champagnat Catholic. We're a small school program. Been to the state championship the last 4 seasons in a row. Won 2 out of the last 4. 3 state championships as a program. We've had football for about 10 years now. And been to 6 state championships. 5 state championships in those 10 years. And won 3 of them. So we have the most state championships in football. Any school, any private school in Dade County. And obviously, doing what we can to help these kids get to school and put them in great positions to be successful in the future. That's what it's about.
No, absolutely. You've done a tremendous job, and kind of go over, what are the key values of building a powerhouse program in Miami-Dade County as a head coach?
So, the number one thing is stability. Fortunately for me, when I took over as a head coach 2 years ago, my 2 prior seasons there, I was under Dennis Merriquin.
Yes.
And I think keeping that transition from him to myself was, although it was a change in head coaches, but since I had been there before, I was able to keep a pulse on the team and what's necessary to continue winning and doing what we needed to do. So obviously stability, I think, is number 1. Number 2 is having a relationship with the kids.
Right.
Knowing what the kids need, what the kids want, and at the same time, instilling discipline and values into what they're trying to do in the future. You know, and that's a big thing that I'm big on, is just preparing them for later in life. You know, being on time. You know, looking somebody in the eye.
Right.
You know, shaking someone's hand, saying thank you. You know, just little things like that sometimes get lost. You know, unfortunately. You know, and I think that's important to teach. You know, I'm more about the little things, and I think that's another thing that if you get a whole team of guys that'll rally around doing the right thing all the time, I think that really helps you be successful.
Right. No, absolutely. Yeah, yeah. It's the little things that count. And is that kind of something you preach to your players every day? You know, I heard like Nick Saban, Urban Meyer, those guys are, you know, very detailed individuals. Are you very detailed with your players?
So I'm very detailed, you know, in coaching, and very detailed in how we handle ourselves. You know, from dress code to, you know, how we walk around, what they say, how we say it. You know, I'm super involved. I micromanage a lot of things that probably many don't, but I do that just to protect the kids and protect the program. You know, because sometimes you need to. You know, but I preach effort, I preach discipline. You know, and I preach the little things.
Gotcha.
I think those are the three biggest things that I every day after practice, when I, you know, get the kids on the knee and talk to them, that's what I let them know that it's about. You know, and once you got guys really doing those things, man, it honestly becomes, you know, a joy. And honestly, that's where I have the program right now.
Yeah.
You know, we got this thing going right now. Finally, you know, and nothing is built overnight.
Absolutely.
You know, the way we're moving right now with the kind of guys we got, and the way that they do things and the way they buy into things, man, it's awesome, man. It's a breeze. The kids are awesome. The families are awesome. Honestly, it's a joy to do, man. It's honestly, it's awesome.
And kind of go over that story. How was that? You know, it's a small private school in Hialeah. I mean, how was this powerhouse built up? Kind of go over that story, because, you know, when I think of Hialeah football, I think of Hialeah High off the bat. You know, having guys like Ted Hendricks and kind of flashes of success. But, you know, to do it in 2A, I mean, it's very interesting.
Yeah. So, I mean, the number one thing I think at our school, what helps us be successful is the administration.
Gotcha.
You know, the administration there is awesome. You know, they care about the kids, and they want to be successful. You know, so whatever is necessary in order to make things happen, they're going to make it happen.
Right.
So I think that's the number one thing. Like at Champaign, I feel like any sport, that if you get the right head coach, the right person to come in there and want to do something with athletics, you know, or even academics, or right now we're starting an esports program.
Okay, that's great. Yeah.
Anything that has to do with doing things the right way to do something for the kids, they're all in, and they're going to give you the resources that you need to make it happen. You know, and I think that's important. I think that's important to have at any level, obviously. You know, I'm sure there's colleges and even NFL teams that if the front office ain't doing what we need it to do, it's going to be a problem.
No, yeah, absolutely.
We're blessed to have that, you know, and with their support and her picking the right people to run the programs when she has, I think it's been that recipe for success.
No, absolutely. And that's great. You have a great support system, you know, that the school has your back, you know, with this football program. I think it's a recipe for success, and it's shown that you guys are successful. So I think that is awesome. Hey, let's talk about the 2020 outlook. You know, how do you see your football program contending? You know, I think, don't you guys open up with Belen Jesuit first game?
Yeah, so we're going to open up with Belen this year.
Okay.
The schedule is not fully put together, which is still next preps. I think it's up to date as of now. Got a couple more games that we're trying to finalize, you know, but it's been really hard, you know, to fill a schedule. Unfortunately, every year is the same thing, but it is what it is, right? We you know, control what you can control.
Right, exactly.
You know, some teams don't want to pay you. Some teams don't want to travel. Some teams can afford to make you travel. And, you know, and then locally here, I think things have gotten a little saturated to where you have the really good schools, and then everybody else, and everybody else doesn't want to play.
Right.
So and you run into that struggle of trying to find games sometimes, and that's kind of where we're at right now. So yeah, we start off with Belen, but I mean, if you ask me what I think, going forward, what this 2020 team should do, I mean, same answer every year, right? Anything other than a state championship victory is unacceptable.
Absolutely.
That's a standard. That's the goal. That's what we talk about. That's all the kids talk about. And they understand. They understand that's the pressure. Everybody's trying to knock you off. And everywhere you go, as soon as you hit the playoffs, someone wants to knock you off. And if you're playing a team locally, they want to knock you off. So wherever you go, the people are coming for your head. And I think that helps us grow as a team. It helps us grow that bond that, not many people like us, not many people want to play us. And when they do, we're going to get their A game. You can play the worst team in the world, but they're going to bring their A game, So,
absolutely.
That's just part of the process, all successful teams, I'm sure, got to deal with that. So, but it's going to be an awesome year where I got a lot of key pieces coming back. Got a lot of young guys that are coming in from the Optimist programs, incoming 8th graders, 9th graders, that are going to be contributors, some studs. And honestly, I might go ahead and say we may be better than what we were last year.
Really? Wow.
Yeah.
Who are some key players to look out for? Because I know we have a lot of high school fanatics here that really do follow Miami-Dade high school football.
So obviously, if you go recognition-wise, you got Malik Rutherford, right?
Yes.
So Malik, he's committed to Georgia Tech, and he's in my opinion the best wide receiver in best slot wide receiver in South Florida, point blank period, if not the state. And I don't think there's another slot wide receiver in America that does what he does.
Wow.
On the field, off the field, character-wise, work ethic-wise. Spend 5 minutes with him and you understand what I'm talking about. And then you got a guy like DeAndre Spate, which I know he's starting to generate some hype now. Finally, this is a kid that if we talk in January, you'll be asking me, oh man, where'd that kid come from, right? He's been around, he's been with us. Just he's played various positions. But that just shows how versatile he is. The kid that plays basketball, plays baseball, plays football, and played wide receiver 2 years ago, played defensive end this year, and he's going to move back to play outside linebacker this season. And he's a force, man. He's freakishly athletic, super long. He's right at around 200, 205 pounds now. He's gained like 30 pounds since the end of the season. He's going to be a problem. He's going to be a problem for whoever gets in front of him. So he's going to be an FBS guy. And then you got our running back, Donovan Jones. I'm sure, the recruiting sites, have talked about him. He's got a couple, FBS offers, and FCS offers. He's a speedster. Yeah, this is the first off season in 2 years that he's healthy going into the off season.
Nice.
And going into the season. So he's going to have a breakout year. We can sense it. That he's a guy. He's a guy. He's going to be that 20, 25 carry guy this year.
Okay.
In that backfield. So you got him. And then you have a guy like Justin Payout, he's going to be a 4-year starter now. That'll play anything. He'll play wide receiver for us. He's a kick returner, punt returner, and corner. Played for one of the best 7-on-7 teams in the offseason and dominated that circuit. Just a little undersized, but man, there's a lot of schools that are starting to generate interest around him just because of his play. His play, his twitchiness, all that stuff. He's going to be awesome. And then obviously a couple of the guys that we brought in, a couple guys that came in, as transfers. That Malik Allen came in from Southwest at running back. That's very good. You have Elias Blandon that has been with us, but I forgot to mention, up front at the O-line position, he's a guy that's got FBS offers. Will probably be a center at the next level due to his height, but he's a stud. You watch his tape. I mean, he's punishing people. We have the best 8th grade center probably in America. started for me this past year as an eighth grader. Started 15 games, and obviously he's going to come back. So we got a lot of guys, man, a lot of pieces, a lot of guys that we don't usually have around this time.
Right.
So I'm excited. I'm super excited, and they're phenomenal kids, man. Our GPAs are through the roof.
That's great.
They're taking care of the classroom. They're taking care of this. The pandemic hit. Well, guess what? We were the first school doing virtual school before any Miami-Dade County public schools doing it.
Wow.
We had Google Classroom. We were on it. We did it. Again, it goes back to administration. They do it first. And the kids taking advantage of it and doing what they got to do. And, we're big on that. We had a 3.3 team average GPA this past year, and we're going up from there.
No, that's great. Yeah, and that's academics. That's something that's going to carry over when they get to college.
Oh, for sure.
Because obviously everybody,
kids that go to the University of Miami,
right.
We had a kid go to Tulane. Kids go to Florida Tech. There are guys going to school all over the country and big time academic programs that are, they're not there because, they didn't go to school.
Right. Absolutely. And, speaking of, model players, Gregory Rousseau, the infamous, they call him the tarantula. This guy's compared to Chase Young. Can you kind of talk about his story at Champagnat Catholic? Because he was very under the radar, 3-star recruit, and he's killing it in college football. So I would love to hear, kind of how he developed during his time there. And did you always expect him to be this great star at the next level?
So Greg is different, man. Greg is first and foremost. Greg is a different kind of guy, right? He's not your typical per se stereotype type football player, right? Greg is first and foremost an awesome person, right? Greg's the kind of guy that if you need to hire somebody to walk grandmas across the street, that's Greg, right? If you need a guy to babysit your kids, that's Greg. Because you're going to trust him and he's going to do everything the right way all the time. That's just him. It's how his family, he comes from a great family. That's how they raised him. And he's just a blessing to be around, So that's how Greg is as a person. On the field for us in high school, we moved Greg around a lot. If you watch his tape, Greg played primarily free safety for us.
Right.
And many people don't know that unless they actually watched him. So, and it was just our philosophy where Greg was so long, so physical, and rangy where people wouldn't want to throw over him. And if you broke our front seven, he was going to make that tackle. So it was literally by definition the word safety, right? It was a safety blanket. And that's where we used him. And obviously we had great players. During his tenure there, we had phenomenal defensive linemen, defensive ends, you name it, we had it. So we wasn't super necessary to get him down in that box, right? Then the following year, we moved him to the outside linebacker position, so he could kind of learn how to play in space and play, closer to the line of scrimmage, and get him to where, he probably, I foresee him being like a 3-4 outside linebacker, right?
Okay, yeah.
That's where we thought he would end up, because he was so athletic and so long. He was prototype, right? He was your typical, what Deion Jordan was supposed to be, right?
Right.
Julius Peppers was, like that kind of deal. So that's what we envisioned him being. And then his senior year, we said, let's give it a shot. And we went ahead and threw him down, after a conversation with Miami that they wanted him at the end, and they were a 4-man front. We said, all right, cool, let's get your feet wet down there. And then we did it. We put him down in the box and put him down at the end and let him go. And that's how we transitioned. He didn't play all the time at defensive end because we still used him as free safety. But in certain games, certain times, we let him go down there depending on who he played, depending on who the other team was. We made it happen for him, and it worked out. It worked out honestly great, But his development, I knew he was going to get bigger. I didn't think he would have gotten so much bigger so fast. Miami and what they do there, because he left us probably weighing between 220 and 225 at most.
Right.
And he did graduate early, which was tremendous for him. And then I think when I saw him in spring practice, he was 262, I want to say.
Wow.
So You know, he's put on a ton of weight and good weight, obviously. You know, I think he might even grow an inch in height.
Really?
So he's
Okay.
legitimately 6'7", 260-some pounds. And he's only going to get bigger and stronger from there.
Yeah, I know.
He's a baby.
Yeah.
He was young. I know he graduated young. He wasn't one of these 19-year-olds, graduating almost 20. No, I want to say he might have been 17, barely 18, you know, when he graduated high school. So, you know, he's only going to get better from here.
Yeah, no, Gregory Rousseau. I mean, that's going to be one for the history books. They already have him projected top 10 picks. Mel Kiper even announced he's one of the best prospects, early, prospects for next year's draft. You kind of get that sense of emotional of a player who you saw, you know, through the high school stage, and you know you watch him now on Mel Kiper's, you know, acknowledging this guy. Is it a kind of surreal moment for you as a coach?
So with Greg, not so much. I don't want to say I expected him to be a top 10 piece. So I think that's impressive. But I knew a guy like that, with his size, with his ability, we knew he was going to be special. You know, we didn't know where special, but we knew he was going to make it. You know, it wasn't one of those deals where you got a 5'7" corner that everybody's, you know, they're all shooting over him. Now that might be different, right?
Right.
For him, we knew it was going to happen. We didn't know at what position per se, and we didn't know how soon. Right? We didn't think he was going to be a redshirt sophomore, and people were talking about him being a top 10, top 5 pick.
Gotcha.
Depending on who gets in there. So yeah, that's what's more impressive to me, is that it happened so quickly. But hey, he was put in a position to be successful right away. He's worked his ass off. You know, he's got tremendous work ethic. And things happen. You know.
Right. No.
Things happen to good people. Man.
Absolutely. No, I strongly believe in that, Coach Clavijo. Absolutely. I think good people, good things will come back to you, and if you do the right things. Yep. And speaking of another product out of Champagnat Catholic, Jalen Harrell, a great player. I know he's enrolling in Summer B, I believe, because Summer A didn't go through.
Yeah.
Or I wasn't aware of.
Summer A, I mean, everybody knew about it. I know an article just came out, you know, and the article should be honest with you, should have gone through me first.
Gotcha.
But you know, I was disappointed. They usually call me about things, but they didn't this time. So we knew Jalen wouldn't be ready for Summer A. You know, there's no different. They knew when he would be finishing school. They knew, everyone knew everything. So I don't want it to be like the way that article made it seem was like it was like a surprise, right?
Right.
Oh man, he's not ready. No, like everybody knew it wasn't ready. We knew in December it was going to be this time. You know, kids don't graduate until, you know, we don't finish school until June 6th, and you got to get your hours in, right? So
right.
It's part of the game. So there was no surprise. There's no hiccups. There's no nothing. You know, he's doing what he's supposed to do. He's been working out like crazy. I saw me and him talk, you know, every other day. But I ran into him. We met up up in Broward maybe 2 weeks ago, and I saw him, and shoot, man, he looks good. I mean, he's put on weight. He's put on weight. He's got to be in the 200s somewhere.
Nice.
I know we finished the season. He was like 205, so he's got to be probably a little bit heavier than that. He's ready, man. He's body ready. He ain't a guy that you got to bring in there and put on 30 pounds before he can see the field. He can see the field right now if the mental aspect is there, right? So I think that's going to be up to the coaching staff to go ahead and prepare him mentally to be, you know, be ready with the playbook, be ready to make things happen. But Jalen's freakishly athletic, man. I saw him run 100-meter dash track. I coach track, and I mean, holy smokes, you know, that's a big man moving fast, you know. So I'm sure he's going to be a part on special teams right away. I'm sure he's going to help out, you know. And I talked to Coach Banda, you know, trying to figure out, you know, where we're going to play him at, you know. And I think that. And I really do think that he's probably going to end up being like a striker position.
Okay.
You know that Miami has?
Yes.
I think based on what I see, based on me just evaluating, that's probably where he'll end up at.
Okay.
And that might be the smoothest transition. But we'll see.
And do you think, I know I got people in the comment section. Hey, like I would love to see Jalen Harrell at play cornerback. What, do you think that the striker position is what best suits him at the next level, or do you envision a different position for him?
So I don't want to say that he can't play cornerback because I don't know how they'll use him. Everybody plays corner differently, right? So
Right.
you have some guys that play it a certain way, other guys that play it another way. So I'm not educated enough to sit there and tell you, oh yeah, he can or yeah, he can't. Can he do anything physically? Yeah, I mean, look at the guy. You know what I mean? Like, can he run? Yes. Is he fast? Yes. Is he big? Yes. Is he long? Yes. You know, is he the twitchiest guy in the world? No, he's not. But you can't be at 210 as a
Right.
17-year-old. You know what I mean? Like, it's just not possible. So, but can he play? Can he make coverage? Yes. Can he cover? Yes. Can he run with any wide receiver probably in ACC? Yes. So can he move out there? I think so. We used him as safety for the same reason I told you we used Craig. He's a big guy, hard to throw over, comes around. You're probably just scared to throw at him. So with him just being there, he took away a third of the field, just standing there, right? So for us, it worked, and then also for him, he was able to go back there and see what it was like to play free safety. And I think he enjoyed it. And I think he realized, wait a minute, I don't only have to play corner.
Right.
So I think that's an aspect of the game that I think we were able to open up to him. And he could probably go ahead and play free safety for Miami too.
Really? Wow.
You know, I don't sit in there reading moves though. So I don't
Yeah.
know. You know, it's hard for me to say. You know, everybody uses guys differently. Like I told you how I use my safety. I don't know how they do it. You know, but can he do it? Hey, Jalen, you got to go to third. Hey, Jalen, you got to pull down the box. Hey, Jalen, you got to do X, Y, and Z. That's not going to be an issue, you know? So there's nothing that he can't do. If you were to tell me right now, hey, we're going to use him at will linebacker, I'd be like, okay, I believe it. And he can do it, you know? So anything aside from playing a one technique or a three technique, he can do it on defense.
So it sounds like ultimately Miami is getting a freak athlete, you know, that is very adaptable to different positions. Just put him on the field and let him make plays. Let him naturally play.
Exactly.
And that's something that Manny Diaz.
That's what I think he is.
Yeah.
And I think that's where the better schools recruit. I think that's
exactly.
What the guys, the big time recruiters, they recruit athletes, they recruit size, they recruit speed, and they just need guys. And once they get there, you figure out what you want to do with them. And the good coaches mold to their players. You know, they don't sit there and try to put a round peg in a square hole.
Right.
So, you know, if you get players and you get good athletes, you're gonna figure out how to get those athletes on the field and make them work. You know, and I think that's part of a good coaching staff, and I think Miami has done that. So.
Right. Yeah. Absolutely. And you know, another player that kind of gets overshadowed, Jesus Machado. I know he was kind of a late interest in some Power 5 schools. He's ultimately at Tulane. What kind of skill set does he bring to the next level?
So you get, in my opinion, and you call it bias if you want to, and I coach the backers. He's the best linebacker. He was the best linebacker in the state of Florida. I mean, point blank, period. And I think if he would have come out in this class, he would be it too.
Gotcha.
You know, the kid was a stud. He was he'll knock your teeth out. He gave you all he had. He was a great athlete. And what people don't understand, this is how Miami kind of got really interested, was when I finally told him and I convinced him and I said, hey, listen, the kid's been playing linebacker for 3 months.
Yeah.
Like, remember, he was at Central. He played the end at Central. When he was at Champagnat before, he played the end only. Since he was like 6 years old, he's only played defensive end. So
wow.
He came and transferred into me late, just like Jalen did. And I just got him in August to come play linebacker. So you're talking about a kid that played linebacker for 3 minutes and had 150 something tackles. You know, when we were playing Lowndes in Georgia, he had 20 some tackles. I mean, the kid was a tackling machine. He was all over the field, and the kid was doing it for 3 months. Could you imagine when the kid goes to college and he's doing that 24 hours a day?
Oh yeah.
You know? And that's what I try to make people understand. You know,
yeah.
It's part that's part of getting good football players in your program. You know the physical tools. He's 225 pounds solid, benching over 300, squatting over 400. You know, a powerful, smart. You know, 3.9 GPA, 1200 SAT score. You know, he checked off every box. You know, Miami kid. I mean, man, you name it, he checked it. You know, and I think that's where that interest came in late.
Right.
You know, but I understand Miami had some other holes to fill. They decided to fill, and things went in a different direction. But Tulane got a phenomenal player. He's competing, you know, for that starting spot, and they got a guy that's projected to go in the first round that is sitting there, you know, working next to. And when I speak to the coaches, they rave about him. They rave about his work ethic, and he's going to be a guy that's going to play right away. You know, and I hate to see those kids leave. You know, because you always want the home team, right, to get them, but
right.
That's part of the game, right? And in 4 years, we'll be saying, or 3 years, you know, damn, how'd that one get away? You know, but I know you can't keep them all, so
right.
You know, you gotta stay at it, and then hopefully they get the next guy.
No, yeah, absolutely. It is what it is. You know, you can't take anyone in your home in your backyard, but you wish you can take them all. But I get it. It's a business kind of in a sense.
It is. That's another thing I teach my guys. It's business, guys.
Right.
Don't take this personal. If a team drops you or takes you, doesn't want you, doesn't want you, so be it. All right, move on to the next team. You know. And Malik Rutherford was you know, a couple months ago before he committed. I don't know. I can't remember. I don't know. Might have been USF. He loved USF for whatever reason. Oregon State. And I finally got a hold of the coach and said, hey, man, this kid loves you, man. He's got to start. Finally commit to you right away. Just loves it. Oh, no, coach. You know, you don't feel what we do. Okay, you want to take it to heart, or you want to just, okay, hey, thank you, and go to the next one.
Right.
You know? And now Georgia Tech fits what he does, and they love him, and they're all about it. They're building a program around him. And well, why not? Go get a great degree in a great city and play great football.
Absolutely.
You know? So, you know, and you can't get mad over this recruiting stuff. You can't take it personal. You can't be sensitive to it. You know, and I love my kids, man. So sometimes even myself, I gotta not take it personal.
Right.
You know, I treat my kids on my team like they're mine. You know, but it's a business, part of the game. You know.
No, yeah, no doubt about it. And in life, you can't take anything personal. You can't burn a bridge unless you have to. Coach Clavijo, I wanted to ask you, how are you guys getting ready for the upcoming football season? I mean, are you communicating with your players? Because I know it's tough for everyone, for any football program. I can imagine college football.
We do. Yeah, no, it's definitely complicated as hell. So what we're doing right now, we're doing Zoom meetings with positional players. You know, so we got positional Zoom meetings that we go over playbook stuff, we go over things. You know, I send out weekly workouts for them to do voluntarily, obviously at home. You know, and things of that sort. You know, but usually the kids have their own group chat, and I create leaders within the groups. And,
nice.
You know, I make them accountable to themselves, right? But the leaders got to be accountable with their groups, and those leaders kind of report back to me. So it's almost like a democratic process, right?
Right.
So it's kind of like set up, and those things come back to me, and you know, and that way at least I get an understanding of what's going on, who's doing what, who's not, and if a kid is not doing something, it's not like he's gonna be punished for it, but it's my job to figure out why is he not doing it, right? Is there something going on at home? Is there a problem? And you know, I have kids right now that don't have cell phones. You know, the parents can afford it. Or I have kids that don't have internet. You know, we got different situations with different guys.
Right.
You know, so I try to keep an ear to the ground with these kids and making sure that they're taken care of.
Absolutely. No, it's crazy the circumstances, you know, every individual has to go through during these times. So I commend you tremendously, man, for what your football program is going through and to play at that high level to win a state title. I have an interesting question I thought of while speaking with you just now. I played high school sports in Miami. Do you guys have a chip on your shoulder as a two-way football program winning state titles every game?
I think so. I think the kids got a chip on their shoulder because the biggest thing for us is everyone always wants to say, oh, y'all just two-way.
Right.
Y'all don't play nobody. Oh, you just two-way. And I'm like, well, if we don't play nobody, play me. Right?
Right.
Like, I put it on, Larry Bluesy puts it out, writers put it out, and the state puts it out on their classified section. We do the games. Where are those schools that say we don't play nobody? why are they not lining up to play? So that's the biggest trip the kids got to deal with it. They always say, "Oh, but you guys don't play nobody." So that's why if you look at our schedule year in and year out,
right,
we don't play any 2A schools. We don't play any 1A schools. All we do is play. Even there's really not many 3A schools to even play.
right.
So really, we play 4A and up. Miami Northwestern went and played Lowndes in Georgia. So did we. Check the stat sheet. You come back and tell me who played them better. Look at the numbers. Look at the stats. Look at all those things. And do the same thing. Go look at how we played Belen and go look at how Miami Central played Belen.
Right.
Tell me who played them better. Because we can't play some of these schools. So what can I do? All I can do is sit there and argue common opponents, right? Don Chaney raped Central the whole first half.
Right.
Don Chaney had 17 yards against us the whole game. It's two different animals, right? So say what you want to say. At the end of the day, line it up. So that's the biggest chip that they have is as soon as somebody says, "Oh, you want to stay," they're gonna say, "Oh, but I'm into it." Okay, well then, damn, let's play since you guys are so big and bad. And obviously, I respect the Central Columbus. They really got that that monkey off their back. And Sunderland doing a phenomenal job. Thomas Heritage, those guys are elite. So it's not going to see those guys work. Then you get the other schools that are, really aren't doing anything either, and then they still have something to say. Okay, then what's going on? So that's the biggest chip that we deal with, and the kids are always talking about, like, man, coach, let's play them, because they're tired of it. They're tired of everybody saying that we can't play with X, Y, or Z.
Right.
And I tried this year. We had Norland on the schedule, Miami Norland, and then something happened with the county or somebody said that they had to play Carroll City instead of us. Okay, I'm sorry. Now what do I do?
And your schedule, I mean, I saw it was Gulliver Prep, who, they have a good name. American Heritage Delray had a couple good seasons in the past. I mean, so you're looking for teams, it's just who wants to line up.
I played the state champion in Nashville last year. Went up there, we played them, beat them really good. We played Lowndes, it was a dogfight at halftime, and we threw 2 pick sixes late, and it kind of got ugly towards the end, So I'm going to check the stat sheet. Don't look at the score sheet. We played John Curtis this year, which they won the state championship, if I'm not mistaken, in Louisiana.
Oh, wow.
A program that's won, I think they're well over 20 state championships in that state.
Yeah.
And we play them this year. Hopefully if everything goes through and we're out to travel and things of that sort. We're going up to play Crestview up in Pensacola this year.
Nice.
We played Niceville 2 years ago. So it you don't want to play people. It's just, I know sometimes it's hard. And I completely understand. You lose the Champagnat and you're like, oh my God, you don't have to go to school that doesn't even have a football field to practice on. And then if you beat us, they're like, oh, well, you were supposed to beat them. So it's a lose-lose for some of these people. So I understand that, but it's frustrating for us when you kind of hear.
Absolutely.
My brother my brother's like my the words of wisdom come from him sometimes. He's like, bro, at the end of the day, what do you have to prove now? Like, what do you have to prove? Who cares if people say just do your thing and keep winning. So I was like, yeah, you're right. He's my defensive coordinator. So yeah.
Hey, Coach Clavijo, speaking of words of wisdom, what are some words of wisdom you would give a young head coach, or just any coach that wants to strive to be a head coach someday?
So if you're already a head coach, my words of wisdom would probably be find good people around you. Find good people, good coaches that you can trust, that are willing to ride or die with you. And that's something that I've been blessed to have. Obviously it's the defensive coordinator has been my brother, and my offensive coordinator has been Wilkie Perez. And man, those two guys there, man, they if I tell them, hey, put the kicker at a position, they're gonna do it. Or if and if they tell me something, I'm gonna listen. And I think that's what it's about. It's having people around you that you really trust. And it's I'd rather trust somebody 100% than have a guy that thinks he's Nick Saban. You know what I mean? And
right.
thinks he knows everything about football. I'd rather just have a guy that's loyal and the guy that's gonna do things and make it fun. I think that's the most important thing. And aside from that, man, have a great relationship with kids. Do your part. It's hard to find resources to really tap into and have a Rolodex of college coaches. I think that's something that I learned from Dennis Manifold that went before me.
Yeah.
He was awesome at that. He did a phenomenal job with recruiting, and that's something that I took from him. And I learned from him, doing that, and I just twist it now and do it my way. But that's something that I think you really have to invest in sometimes, and that's going to conventions, going to clinics, and networking. I think that's super important, because if you could bring that aspect to kids and to the parents, you're going to be able to attract student athletes to your program, and because you have that, and I think that's big, because there's only one state champion per class.
Right.
Everybody can't win state, but as long as you're doing what you're supposed to do and the kids are going to school, I think that's sometimes more important.
No doubt about it. Yeah.
I think those are the two biggest things: is generally good relationship with college coaches and have a great support cast within your program. If you have those two things, slowly but surely, everything's going to fall into place. And I can't promise you a state championship out of it, but I can promise you success and a good time. And I think those are two things that, man, in South Florida, we don't make no money coaching. Are you kidding me? What do public school guys get? $1,500 stipend? You know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
What are we doing here?
Right.
You're gonna sit here and make your life miserable for $1,500? Come on, who's doing that? So, you gotta make sure that there's a fine line between stress and having a good time, and I think having a good time in this business is a lot more important.
Coach Clavijo, hey man, what you've done at Champagnat Catholic, hell of a job. You've created a powerhouse program. There's a difference between winning state titles in Virginia and winning state titles in Broward County and winning state titles in Miami-Dade County. And you're doing it on a consistent basis. So, man, thank you. I applaud that, what you're doing over there. And I think you're setting up the right values for these kids, and it's showing. Gregory Rousseau is a perfect example. And, man, you should be very proud of yourself, Coach Clavijo, for what you're doing over there and the impact you're making on your players. And just want to thank you again, man, for coming on the show, for your time, and many blessings to your football program moving forward. I know you guys are going to kill it. And I love that aggressiveness, man, that Urban Meyer mentality. The expectation is a state title or bust. And I love that, Coach Clavijo. I love it, man.
Thank you, man. Thank you for having me. Thank you to my coaches. You wouldn't be here. And to the administration again, thanks to them. But yeah, thanks for having me, man. Whatever you need from me, let me know. I'm here, and I'm always open to be on the show.
All right, appreciate it, Coach Clavijo. Have a great day, sir.
Okay.
All right.
Thank you. Take care.
Peace.
Be safe.
All right, everyone. You heard it from Coach Clavijo, how to run a successful high school football program in Miami-Dade County, not Duval County, not Virginia, not Washington, D.C., Maryland, New Hampshire, in Miami-Dade County, and to produce great college football players. Gregory Rousseau. A lot of people compared him to Chase Young from Ohio State. I think he's a lot better than Chase Young. Potentially could be a top 10 pick. We got the insight scoop on Jalen Harrell. As you all know, it was expected he wasn't going to enroll into Summer A. He was expected to enroll into Summer B. This wasn't old news. This wasn't breaking news. This was expected. Jalen Harrell was going to enroll into Miami Summer B. Nothing to worry about. It was expected. That's coming from his high school head football coach. And it just shows you everything that he preached regarding his football program. The players that he has, Jesus Machado, who's going to Tulane. He was a late offer by Miami, under the radar guy. But ultimately, I think he'll have a great career at Tulane. And then Malik Rutherford as well. He said he's a very scary, good wide receiver that is committed to Georgia Tech. Georgia Tech is a program on the rise. They are recruiting in South Florida. They have South Florida ties. Jeff Collins is a young up-and-coming coach that actually did come from Tulane as well. I mean, not Tulane, sorry, Temple. Manny Diaz also came from Temple, technically. But yeah, man, great interview with Coach Clavijo. Watch out for that program, man. They develop a lot of Power 5 top recruits year in and year out. And they've consistently go to the state title game for 2A in Miami-Dade County in the state of Florida year in and year out. So, hey, great job by Coach Clavijo and the program he is building. In 15 minutes, guys, Brian Monroe, former Miami Hurricane punter and NFL kicker as well, will be joining the show. It is pouring rain outside. If you are in the Miami-Dade area, which is where I'm at right now, it is like a monsoon 24/7. Craziness. The power just almost went out. Luckily, I have my laptop saved. I got my microphone set up, so we're good. Brian Monroe in 15 minutes. Cannot wait. Let's see what you guys are saying in the comment section. Paul, will he be sending players our way? What I got from Coach Clavijo, he is a Miami guy. Okay, he lives in North Miami Beach off of Biscayne. He's for Miami. He wants his guys to go to Miami. He wanted Jesus Machado to go to Miami. He was convincing Miami to take him because he was an under-the-radar guy. Miami offered late, so he went to Tulane. He wanted to go to USF. I don't think they offered. Malik Rutherford is another under-the-radar guy. He wants those guys to come to Miami. Now, does Miami want to offer early? It's a business. Do you take the chance with an under-the-radar guy? Remember, guys, we just lost a battle with Jaden Hood out of St. Thomas Aquinas. So, it's interesting concept. We took baggers from Camden, New Jersey, Tyreek Austin Cave, who I think is going to be very good. Corey Flagg, who out of Houston, Texas, everyone is praising. So, it's kind of hard. Who do you take? Do you take a local under-the-radar guy, or do you take a out-of-state guy who is being highly recruited by other programs as well? I don't know. I'm not in that position. It's a very tough decision to make. So, we'll see what happens moving forward. The great interview, guys. Jalen Harrell, you wanted the information. You got it. So that was it, man. He is expected to enroll in Summer B, not Summer A. Everybody kind of freaked out when he didn't. There was an article out about it. Whatever. Not a big deal. It was expected. Brian Monroe coming on shortly. You see with the comment section. What's up, Dennis? How's it going? Yeah, it is crazy raining right now in Broward as well. Cannot see out my window. Wall of water. Thank you, guys. Linebackers were full from Machado. Like I said, it's very hard. It's a numbers game as well with this class. We only want to take 3 linebackers. We only want to take 1. We only want to take 1 nickel corner. Just stuff like that. I remember I spoke with Jose Duaso, 7-on-7 Miami Immortals coach. He said, Taiwan Mullen, they were only going to take to Corey Couch. They weren't going to take another nickel corner. So it's a numbers game. So kind of how it works. And then a lot of players end up going to other schools and having great success. So it is what it is, guys. Texting someone right now. Give me 1 second. All right, and we got Brian Monroe coming on at 6:48. All right, guys, let's talk about Jared Williams, the offensive tackle out of the University of Houston. I thought he was going to announce Memorial Day weekend. It seemed like it. There were tweets from Footballville Nation regarding the offensive line. I know a lot of people besides Footballville Nation were tweeting out things as well that he was coming to Miami. I don't know what's going on. I think the expectation that he was going to announce come Memorial Day. So I don't know what's going on. People tell me he's a Baylor lean. People say he's a Miami lean. Some people say he's not coming. I don't know. I don't know what's going to happen moving forward, but it will be interesting to see what happens with Jared Williams. It is a huge asset to the program, to the offensive line unit that we do land him. We do need all the help we can get moving forward with that offensive line unit, specifically left tackle, right tackle. Depth is a concern moving forward. I think a veteran player, at the right tackle position will help us out a lot. Praying the 2 FSU flips play great. Yeah, no, I think Jalen Knighton, man, I really do. I think he's going to be a special player. A lot of people do like Isaiah Dunson for his athletic ability. I think he's done someone told me, I think it was Hull, someone said that he may be our best receiver on the roster. He has great hands. You can put out a receiver and he'll do an outstanding job. So I think you're getting an athlete there, and there's a high praise for him moving forward. My favorite one, as we all know, is Jalen Knighton. That's my favorite player coming in. I think he's going to be a special talent. I think it's kind of going to be like that Dalvin Cook effect at FSU, where he just kind of tore apart Miami and took over football games. So I'm really excited about Jalen Knighton. I really am. I think he's going to be a special player. I think Jalen Phillips on Twitter said he was going to be special as well. So it does excite me. Yeah, no, I really hope we get Jared Williams. That is a must get. We'll see what happens moving forward. What I don't know, kids have been posting workouts, what kind of shape they appear to be. I saw De'Aaron King, D. Wiggins, Mark Pope. They were running routes. De'Aaron King was throwing the football. Everyone's working. To me personally, I don't really care if you're videotaping it. It's going to show on the field. It's going to show when you get back to practice how well you were conditioning. You can videotape yourself benching 225. Okay, great. Are you consistently doing it? Are you making the right choices? Everyone's in a tough situation right now, so it really is testing people's limits on how disciplined they are. So, hey, we'll find out I believe players are coming back in June 7th, voluntary workouts, June 6th, June 7th, and then July, the expectation is everyone is the full team is expected back on campus. So that is the expectation. I'm going to text Brian Monroe right now. Let him know, hey, it's on you. And he's supposed to come on in 9 minutes. Brian Monroe, former Miami Hurricane punter who played in a lot of interesting games. Part of a lot in the sense of he was there when we did the comeback against Florida. He was there against that Louisville game where we lost to Louisville. I think we were on the field, the 50-yard line before the game. Willie Williams was messing up the Louisville logo. There was also, he beat Florida State twice. He played as a true freshman as a punter. So he's been through a lot as a Miami Hurricane during his time. He was a part of that last season where Larry Coker was dismissed from the program. So, he's been through a lot of interesting times at Miami. And plus he does the post-game locker room for 560 WQAM after the game. So love to hear his thoughts on the Miami Hurricanes football program for this upcoming season and the past season as well. So it'll be very interesting. It is pouring outside. I mean, talk about lightning, thunder. It's insane. And then any questions you guys have, I'm expecting Brian Monroe to call in 7 minutes. So we'll wait till then. And if you have any questions, want to talk about anything, go right ahead. And then the expectation, guys, is June 6th or the 7th. Voluntary workouts will begin. And then July, we will get the entire team back on the roster, on campus. So I think that is going to be extremely exciting. I believe there's going to be college football. Julio Frank said we might even have fans at the beginning. He kind of loosened his words that he said on CNN that there won't be any fans this season. He said early on there we may have fans. So I think just take it day by day. Yes, he was expected to announce Memorial Day weekend. The expectation, people were tweeting out he was going to possibly come to Miami. I don't know. I've heard people say he's a Baylor lean, Florida State lean. I don't know what's happening. Personally, we'll find out. He's going to announce soon, but the schools that are in the mix, I can tell you that because I don't know what's going on in Jared Williams' mind. Miami, Ole Miss, Baylor, and Florida State. Those are the 4 schools in the hunt. Expect him to announce one of those schools. Obviously, a lot of people say he's a Baylor lean. All right. Brian, how you doing today, sir?
How you doing, man?
Good, man. Thank you so much for coming on the show, man. I greatly appreciate it. It's pretty cool because, man, I remember as a little kid watching games, man, I always saw you punting the football and at Hard Rock Stadium as well. So are you in Miami right now?
I am in this monsoon that we're having right now.
I hear you, man. It's bad, huh?
But, I mean, listen, luckily I live in high rise, so my car is not like some of these cars out there, but, I mean, South Beach, I think Doral, I just saw a video.
Yeah.
It's really bad. It's just flooding everywhere, so, and it doesn't look like it's going to, give up anytime soon. So, I feel for the people whose cars are going underwater right now, but that's what happens when you live in Miami, right? You put to fix a problem, and a lot of people pocket the money.
Right. Yeah, exactly. Exactly. There's pros and cons to every city. We have a lot of pros in Miami, I would say.
You right about that. You live in Miami?
Yeah, I'm in Coral Gables right now. I moved out of Miami, but right now I'm in Coral Gables. Hey, Brian, introduce yourself to, everyone watching right now, kind of your career at Miami and, what you do right now.
All right, cool. So, yeah, Brian Monroe, former punter for the Miami Hurricanes, played from 03 to 06. Right now, I'm a personal trainer part-time. I'm also in the radio business. I work with 790 The Ticket, 560 The Joe, and I'll do the pregame radio show for the Miami Hurricanes football team as well.
Nice. Very nice, Brian. And, man, tell us about your Miami Hurricanes recruiting story, because you're out of Palm Beach, right?
Yeah, I went to Palm Beach High School.
Very cool. So, how did you gain the interest of Miami, or how was it mutual? How did you ultimately end up being a Miami Hurricane?
So I was always a soccer player my whole entire life, and got into kicking when I got to high school from a sister softball coach who told the football coach, you got to do like kick the ball far. I never played football before, like Pop Warner, like a lot of my teammates did. Never really followed football at all. I was
Wow.
But I got into it in high school. That was actually the first time I actually kicked a ball. And yeah, it wasn't that great my freshman year, but I had a kicking coach that I learned, and I got better as it went on. And I had a really good junior year, and that's really where a lot of my interest started, was my junior year. And I was talking to the main 3 schools in Florida, probably the most, with Miami, Florida State, and Florida. And then also Ohio State was one of my first offers as well.
Okay.
A guy that I was competing with, he committed to Florida early. So I, limited them because I was a punter, he's a punter. And it pretty much came down to Florida State and Miami because the weather in Ohio State, Boston College was just a little too cold for me. I'm a Florida boy and enjoy that aspect. So I remember it was my senior year, and my coach had told me that Miami invited me to a practice on a Sunday, and they'd probably offer you a scholarship. And I was really going back and forth between the 2 schools, which I wanted, which one I liked the most. And after visiting Florida State, it's like, all right, this is cool, the college town, but I wasn't really like a college town type of guy. Like, I love the big city that Miami has, the culture, the things to do. And, when I came down here, looked at the campus was awesome, small classes my mom loved, about the education, and then learning about Miami's tradition and history, and them coming, from a national championship and then playing for another one when I went to go visit. It was just, it was interesting because then we went to practice, and we went to Coach Coker's office, and Coker, at the time I didn't have a scholarship. And he looked at me and he's like, so would you like to be a Miami Hurricane? And my mom's like, what, are you offering him a scholarship? He's like, of course. And that's when I committed.
Oh, wow. Very cool.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, and then I came on my official visit later in December with a bunch of the guys that were in my class, actually.
Okay, very cool. And the crazy thing is, you started from game 1 as a true freshman. Out the gate. Louisiana Tech was your first game in Shreveport?
Louisiana Tech, that it was.
What was that? Wait, go ahead, Brian. Sorry.
No, I was just saying it was actually very interesting, the very first game being, Shreveport, because you come from high school, and I guess our biggest game probably is normally Dwyer, which is our rival. And I guess, off the top of my head, I'm guessing there was probably like 8,000, 10,000 maybe when it's like with this jamboree where 3 of us playing for the division title and it was like standing room only.
Right.
And then you go to Freeport, Louisiana, which I think was more like 40,000. And just that, you're like, wow, this is a huge difference from what I came from. And then obviously my second game ever was Florida at night in OB, and that's when it really hit you that, okay, I played for the U.
Yeah, no. How was that experience? Your whole freshman season as a true freshman, talk about the Florida game. Were there butterflies in your stomach before certain games, or was it kind of just natural for you?
Oh, no, there was butterflies. There's certain athletes that you always get that nervous feeling before you step on the big stage. And it's like quarterbacks say, once I get hit that one time or a receiver gets hit that one time,
right,
it's all gone. It's like you get butterflies going in, but I think as a freshman, you always have butterflies, and it kind of goes away when you kick off or something like that, or you're on warm-ups and you get, comfortable with everything. But, yeah, for sure, you definitely have some butterflies before the games.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I know I would have been nervous as hell if I was in your shoes, man. Hey, tell us about that 2003 season. Man, you guys battled through a lot of adversity and overcame a lot. How, those challenges that you guys faced, ended up beating Florida State twice that season and ended up winning the Orange Bowl. Tell us about, that season, just some things that, what made you guys overcome those challenges?
I mean, first and foremost, you have to look at the players, right? You look at that locker room that I was fortunate to walk in as a freshman, and, you hear stories about people saying, like, oh, this guy coached this and this guy coached this. It's all true. Like, you really didn't need our coaches involved because we had guys like Sean Taylor, Antro Roll, Vince Wolf, or John Vilma, DJ Williams, all these special, talented guys, but also leaders that we didn't need a coach hovering over you, because if you weren't doing the right thing, you had 10 dudes on you. So I think that's what made that team special, is you had the leadership from our locker room that, when we did lose to Virginia Tech and Tennessee, like we had a, players-only meeting that was intense. But you didn't need a coach to say that. You had our own players that say, yo, coaches need to get out of this meeting real quick. We need to talk. And then, we do these Sunday runs and stuff like that where everyone just let everything hang out. And I think that's what made that 2003 team special, because if you look at they still hold the record for the most first-round picks with 6
right.
That year. And, that team definitely went through some adversity, because you're talking about, I believe, breaking a streak of 32 or 34 wins, Big East wins as well, losing to Virginia Tech and Tennessee.
Yeah.
But I think the resilience and also having the guys that we did as far as leaders is the reason why they were able to get into the Orange Bowl, and the reason why I win the Orange Bowl as well.
Yeah, no, I think I don't know if a lot of people forget, man, but I was at that Tennessee game. It was a hot, muggy day game, and it was like the defense dominated Tennessee. It's just offensively, I mean, we couldn't cross the 50-yard line. It was awful. I don't know if you remember that game. It was the Soldier game, right?
Oh, I remember it. Yeah, I remember that game. I'm a Soldier. And, yeah, I mean, that year we've always had stud defenses at Miami. That's one thing that I can say, that year in and year out, even our down years, we always have top-notch defenses. I just think when it comes to that offense that year, they needed to keep Brock into something that he's comfortable with and thrives at. We saw what he did in the second half of the Florida game with the shotgun. You put Brock Will in the shotgun, he picks you apart. And I think that's what, kind of happened that year. He was doing something he wasn't as comfortable doing. Coming from Louisiana, he was already in that spread formation way back in the day. And I think we kept him in the, spread formation in the shotgun, that season would have been completely different.
No, yeah, absolutely. And hey, Brian, it's crazy. Like, I was thinking about it. You were a part of a lot of like crazy events. The Soldier game, beating Florida State twice, the LSU brawl, winning the Peach Bowl, Devin Hester's crazy returns. You went through a lot at Miami. What were some key factors that like kind of led to the dismissal of Larry Coker, or just in a sense, because every season was you won less games, if you get what I'm saying. It kind of went down every year.
Yeah, we went 10-2, 93, and 7-6, I believe.
Yeah.
What it was. I mean, look, you look at some of those, recruiting classes and stuff like that. Like I said, I to bottom as far as leaders and stuff like that. And, my senior year, we definitely had our leaders, right? Obviously, you got the John Beesons of the world, the Greg Olsons of the world,
right?
Brandon Merriweather, all first-round picks. But, our senior year, we went through a lot of trauma. We lost a teammate, Brian Pata. I believe
Yes.
we were on our third, maybe, offensive coordinator since I was at the school.
Yes.
So you kept changing offensive coordinator. So now a stud quarterback like Kyle Wright,
yep.
5-star for one. Now he's dealing with another OC, another offense. And it takes a lot to learn. And then also, I always clown on myself because, I moved to receiver a little bit in the spring.
Oh, wow. I didn't know that.
Year.
Interesting.
And then I started playing with the receivers actually like in practice and stuff like that, going to meetings in summertime, going in my senior year, the whole 9 yards. I was on the 2 deep as a receiver going into our senior year. So that kind of tells you where we were when we first started to where we were when I left. Now, I'm not saying that the dudes that I play with weren't good, but to say that the punter made the 2 deep as a wide receiver, something's going on. So you should never have that at the University of Miami, where regardless of how athletic I do think I am or what I can do, it just shouldn't happen like that at the U.
Right.
So I think that has to do with a lot of it. And, people always talk about like star systems and recruiting systems, the whole 9 yards. Oh, we got this 4-star and this 5-star. Yeah, but if he's not a 4-star in the meeting rooms, on the practice field, in the locker room, he's never going to be a 4-star, 5-star on the field. So, we went through a lot of adversity, and I think we started going a different direction with the mindset of certain players that we brought into the locker room than what we had when we first came there.
Hey, Brian, what was your favorite game or favorite moment through your whole career at Miami?
Oh, man. Favorite game or moment? I'll probably say the most exciting game that I'm involved in, the craziest game, will have to be that Florida game at night in the OB.
Yep.
Being my first home game in the Orange Bowl, bringing in the extra bleachers and Hester saying, I'm going to take this one back in the opening kickoff. And then we did it. And then the crazy comeback at the end of the game, coming back, Brock hitting KB. Like, it was that's a game that always just sticks out to me when people talk about the craziest games. And it's probably the loudest game that I've been involved with at the OB, and probably the second loudest game I've been involved with as a player or a fan.
No, I was at that game. It was special because the Gator fans, they get all confident. They're up by like 21 at the half. They start chirping. It's really cute. It's adorable. And man, that was kind of like your introduction to the University of Miami, right?
Yeah, that was the real introduction. Because, you're talking about the comeback. You're talking about the guys' halftime speeches. That shows you what the U is really about and the reason why you came to the school. Because, a lot of times, for me, it was Florida or Miami. Those are kind of the schools I was favoring throughout the process. So, to come out on top and be 2-0 against Florida, because then we beat Florida next year in the Peach Bowl, is great, especially when I feel like Florida fans are a little bit worse than Florida State fans. So,
okay.
It's always good to have that.
Hey, Brian, I apologize for my ignorance with this next question. I always think of like punting in college. I watched too much Blue Mountain State, where it's just like, hey guys, like just punt over there and do your thing. Like, just figure it out. You have one job to do. And I apologize for my ignorance with this question. What's the difference between like punting in college and in the NFL?
Nothing. Absolutely nothing. I mean, by the time you're a senior in college, you already know how to pretty much coach yourself up, what you need to do to be successful. And, you really don't have, most big-time colleges don't have kicking coaches. Right? You have a special teams coordinator that knows the basics.
Gotcha.
They expect the D1 school to be able to coach yourself up and have your kickers and punters around you to help each other out, watch film, or you have your kicking coach that you go to in the off season or needs to come and help you tweak. When you go to the NFL, it's the same exact thing. You're a pro now, right? So now you're getting paid to do this. This is your job. If you don't want to be here like any NFL coach would tell you, you don't have to be here. Just leave. Well, we got 1,000 dudes that want to take your spot. So there's really no difference when it comes to, punting, kicking. I guess kicking, the only difference is the field goals are a little bit smaller in the NFL than they are in college, but that's about it.
Brian, is there a mental approach to punting the football? Because I know every punter shanks a punt, but I mean, I'm sure that's a lot of pressure when you just mess one up.
The mental approach is when you do shank a punt, right? You need to have
Right.
amnesia and be able to say, you know what, I can forget about it. Same with kick. I missed a field goal. I can forget about it. Everything with punting and kicking is all muscle memory, right? Kind of like golf. You want to be able to say, I want to go through this motion over and over and over again so I hit the same exact ball every single time. It's all about muscle memory, mechanics, and doing your little drills to say, hey, do it over again. It's tedious. It's annoying at times, but that's what you need to do to be a successful punter. We've had, obviously, some very successful punters over the years. And
yes.
being able to talk to them and being able to just pick their brain, stuff like that. It's just about, just go through your routine. Every single time you have it, go through your routine, and that's really what it is. But mentality-wise, it's being able to block out the outside noise, but also if you do have a bad punt, to be able to say, okay, I can bounce back from this and just keep on going with it.
Gotcha. And Brian, let's transition to kind of fairly modern day University of Miami football. Were you working with 790 The Ticket or 560? I call it WQAM. Sorry, I know it's called the Joe now. Were you,
yeah.
Were you there kind of post game reporter still? I just want to pick your brain regarding the CMR Coach Mark Richt being retired. If you were completely shocked by it, or were you expecting it?
I think it took a lot of people by a little bit of a shock, only because he had, turned the program around what it was from the previous coaching regime, bringing in some good classes, bringing in some good players, finally getting back to the 9-win seasons of the world, the 10-win season. I wasn't as a little shocked, only because I keep fairly close to people in the Miami program and got a text message about that and didn't really believe it. And then sure enough, a couple of hours later, it came out.
Right.
At the time, I had been working. So I had been working with 790.
Okay.
Doing some stuff when it happened. And for me, again, it wasn't a shock too much when it came out, because I already talked to some people about it. But listen, that's one thing I have to respect Coach Mark with. And I never got why fans gave him so much, flack with it. When he first got the job, he said, listen, if I'm not doing a good job, I'm not holding myself accountable, I will step away, because he loves the U that much. He was a player here, so he bleeds orange and green. He felt like at the time he didn't want to get rid of his son and some of the guys that they asked him to get rid of. He kept to his word, I'm going to be loyal, and if I can't hold up the standards that I want to be at, I'll step away. And I give Coach Richt the most respect, and also how much money he left on the table,
right,
for us not to be in a hole.
Right.
Like, I don't know that many people that will leave a job and leave that much money on the table and be like, nah, you know what? We're good. You guys have this because I love university. I love the job so much. I'm going to go ahead and keep millions of dollars. So, Mark Richt, I mean, come on. You got to give much love to Coach Richt, what he did with the program, and also stepping away and also leaving what he did on the table.
Yeah, no, 100% agree. Mark Richt is the definition of a stand-up guy, and what he did with the indoor practice facility at Miami, that is something that was much needed. What are your thoughts on the Manny Diaz hire? A lot of people were surprised. It was very quick. Were you surprised that we went with another first-year head coach, or were you excited about Coach Manny Diaz coming in?
At first I was like, okay, I think Manny Diaz would be a good option because he's been with the program. He's had success with that defense. He knew some of the recruits that were recruiting. But for me, the only thing that I didn't like about the whole entire process was it happened so soon, right?
Gotcha.
You say you're going to go do a national search? Great. Do a national search, right? We have one of the biggest brands of college football. Pick up every rock, turn up every stone. And if Manny Diaz is that guy, then hire him. But if you don't do the national search, how do we know he would be the best hire? When it comes to first-year coaches, you're going to make mistakes, right? It's like any other job. You're
right.
going to make mistakes because you haven't done it before. So, I think a lot of times first-year coaches, it's great to go to a school like a Temple, and you're not really in the national stage or the media, stuff like that, to get criticized as much, and you get your lumps and your bruises, and 2 years later, 3 years, you take the next step up if you're successful. I would say, I think Manny, he has the right mindset. The one thing I love that he did this year is that he saw something that didn't work, and he got rid of it.
Yes.
The previous two coaches, they didn't do that, and that's the reason why we were hindered so much. Al Golden didn't want to get rid of his best friend, who was the defensive coordinator, and then Coach Richt being loyal that he is, didn't want to get rid of certain coaches.
Right.
He stepped down. Manny Diaz saw something that didn't work, said, you know what, we need to go ahead and get into modern football and get this spread going. He went and got a guy that's been successful at very high levels, but that's Auburn, then came from SMU, put points up all over the board. And that's what, young kids want to see nowadays. They want to see the ball spread out. They want to see this high-flying offense. And I'm happy to see that he went and made the changes that some coaches previously would do.
No, absolutely, Brian. I think that you hit the nail on the coffin, man. Great explanation. What regarding Rhett Lashley, how do you feel about him coming in from SMU? I mean, everyone's excited, but why do you think it took so long for Miami to get up to speed with a air raid style, spreading the football out offensive scheme?
Honestly, I have no idea. Now, with Coach Rick, I understand because he was going to be the offensive coordinator and he wanted to run his offense. Okay, if that's how you want it, cool. I can respect that. You want to run your offense? No problem. Our golden era, we kind of ran a little bit of a spread
right.
when we had Stephen Morris. They spread out a little bit more than we've had traditionally. And I mean, listen, I tell people all the time, if we had that offense with some of the defense we had recently,
right,
it would have been a 10-11 win team year in and year out. Now, with Rhett Lashley coming in, you see exactly what he's been able to do with SMU and the talent that they have over there. And yeah, people can say, oh, but they're a smaller conference. Well, hey, by the way, our team hasn't beat some of those teams in these smaller conferences. True. Or put up points in these smaller conferences. So if he can come over, and I don't even know what I think SMU averaged something like 41, 42 points.
Yep.
Man, if he comes in and averages 30 points a game, literally 30 points a game, we won't even probably lose one game, if that. Because if you look at our schedule over the past, if we put up 30 points a game, we would be 10 times better as a team and a program. And also, you would help out your defense with field position because that's what killed us a lot over the last couple of years. Turnovers, bad turnovers too, where the other team's getting the ball inside our own, red zone in our own territory. So, of course, your defense at times is going to be winded and sucking air. So, being able to get an offense that can sustain long drives, let your defense catch wind, flip field position is going to help this team tremendously.
No, absolutely. I cannot wait. This is like a dream come true. But also last year with Enos, I mean, a lot of people got excited because of the Alabama name. So I think we're getting the right guy with Rhett Lashley. He's done a lot of SMU with, not the best talent. Shane Boucher was rejected by Texas. I want to get into De'Aaron King because you spent time with Brock Berlin, who came from another program. How hard is it for a guy like De'Aaron King or anyone coming from another program to be a leader on this football team?
I don't think it's hard. I think it's more about how are you as an individual, right? So if you come in and think, oh, I'm the man, I'm better than everybody else, then yeah, you're probably going to have some issues in a locker room anywhere in America. But if you come in, put your nose down, work hard, dudes are going to be like, damn, that's a dude I want to follow over there. From everything, it sounds like De'Aaron King's calling up wide receivers, calling up, running backs and everything, doing Zoom calls about plays and stuff like that. You see from, his posts and everything that he's always working. In the spring, talking to some of the guys, he led by example while as far as, hey, let's go throw. Hey, let's go do some routes. Let's go watch some extra film. That's how you garner respect from the locker room. Show by example, and everything that I've heard from the young man, all he wants to do is be successful, and he's actually showing it, right? We've heard from the past, there's been players that, oh, we're going to do this, and we're going to do that, we're going to be this, and then you don't actually go out and, practice what you preach. From everything I've heard from players in the locker room, he's actually done that. They've gravitated towards him.
Wow.
For being that leader. And, you look at our offense, and it's been like that for the last couple of years. We've always said this on shows and stuff like that. Who is your leader in the offense, right? I would say last year, our one of our best leaders, and the reason why he was a leader is because the way his work ethic was, and that was KJ Osborne.
Yes.
He came in, never played for the Miami Hurricanes, stepped in week one, and everyone was like, damn. And that's the type of guy you need in a locker room to be successful. And I think De'Aaron King has the same attributes as KJ Osborne as far as work ethic. People want to gravitate towards him. I mean, listen, if KJ Osborne wasn't in that locker room last year, I don't know what our receiver core would look like or what they would do as far as learning the routes, anything, because they were in shambles as far as having an older guy that was a leader before he came in.
Right. Yeah, absolutely. And that's the one thing that everyone's excited about is D'Eriq King as a leader, and we're finally getting a playmaker at quarterback. I mean, a legitimate playmaker. This guy put up video game numbers at Houston. Have you seen any film on D'Eriq King while his time at Houston? Kind of what were your first thoughts of him?
Oh, I've watched a lot of film with D'Eriq King, but I remember watching games live with him in it because, as a former player, you love your school so much that you watch certain games and it's like, why can't we run the spread offense like this? Like, we have tons of athletes in South Florida. Why can't we run the spread? Right. And all of a sudden you see the D'Eriq King out there shaking and baking, launching all around the field, high-tempo offense, and they're putting up 40, 50 points. I'm like, yo, why can't we get a dude like that? There's a lot of times we heard, back in, Pop Warner days, hearing from my teammates, it was always, you put the best athlete at the quarterback position no matter what. Watkins going to make things happen. And then, as offenses change, we got away from it a little bit. And now that you're getting more of that spread open offense, you're seeing more of the athletes stay at the quarterback position. And this offense is really the only reason why D'Eriq King came. I don't care what nobody says. If we still had the same OC from last year, the same offense, he would have never came here. And I would have respected him for that because he would have been more handcuffed at what his skill set is than what it is, what we're running now. And, that's the thing, like people talk about Jalen Hurts not coming to Miami, Nick Saban saying, don't go to Miami, go to Oklahoma. And fans online, I see them getting mad. I'm like, how are you going to get mad at that from the OC that we had compared to what Oklahoma just went through? 2 Heisman Trophy winners and 2 number 1 overall picks. Where would you want your son to go? Like,
you're right.
It's a no-brainer.
Right.
It's a no-brainer. I don't want Oklahoma too. To be successful and help yourself to the next level, yes, I love Miami. Yes, I wanted them to come here. But when you look at it, you're like, if I wouldn't have came here either. Like, that offense just wasn't what we thought we were getting with all the motions, the shifts, the checks. Oh, I'm going to determine what your defense is going to run. Yeah, it looked good for the first half against Florida, but we never thought the rest of the year. But as far as D'Eriq King, this young man can be special. This young man can make all the throws. Yes, he is a little bit undersized, but having that spread offense helps him out with that. Getting the ball out of his hands quickly, and then when plays break down, he can make a lot of things happen with his feet. And we've never had a dynamic athlete at the quarterback position at the University of Miami like this. We've had some amazing quarterbacks over the years, but we've never had a dynamic athlete like this. So the closest I can think of is probably Kenny Kelly in the 90s.
Right.
The closest, but he still isn't what D'Eriq King can be, especially if you look at the athletes that are around him. As far as Brevin Jordan, probably going to be one of the best tight end, if not the best tight end in America next year. We have skillful dudes at the wide receiver position. Will it click to them this year? The running back room, got some young guys in that are very, very talented young men. Can they step up and be the guys we hope they are? Biggest question on offense, obviously, is the offensive line. We held on the ball too long in some of the plays last year.
Yes.
Well, a spread offense can definitely help you get the ball quickly if your offensive line still aren't producing like you want. So that, to me, still is the big question going into this year. Who's going to be the starting 5? How well can they play?
No, absolutely. And, we speak about, Miami guys possibly being some of the best in the nation. When I think of the best, our defensive end unit, that position group is stacked. It's loaded. Have you ever seen those guys in person?
Oh, yeah. I mean, obviously Gregory Rousseau, he's an absolute freak. Meeting this young man, you look at him and you're like, yeah, you can become the best defensive man in America if you really truly want it, because I remember him coming in as a true freshman and, him being a receiver safety. I believe he was something like 210, 215, tall, lanky kid. But you look at what potentially he could be as far as if he put on the weight, being a receiver, being able to use your hands. And if you can put on the weight, you can see how smooth he is out there and effortless. But you also can tell that he's still young. Just give him a couple more years on what he's been able to put as far as his skill set to become a defensive end. I see why he's being in mock draft, top 5, top 10. And you see him in person now, and you're just like, damn. He is all of 6'6", 6'7", 255, 260. Then you bring in the young man from Temple University.
Yep.
Roche, I believe it is, and him being a very active defensive end, high motor guy, graded out by Pro Football Talk as one of the best returning defensive ends in America. Then you had Jalen Phillips, it is, from UCLA, being the number 1 recruit in 2017. Being the number 1 recruit overall just shows you the skill that he has and what he brings to the table.
Yes.
Yeah, it might take him a couple of games to get there, but having the ability to sit behind a Rousseau and a Roche, I hope I'm saying his name right, is awesome. And then you have Jafari Harvey from Vero Beach, the speedster, fast twitch guys. And you just like, listen, you can go ahead and put our speed package out there and just put Roche on one side, Phillips or Harvey on the other side, kick in Rousseau with Nesta in the middle, and you're talking about let's go on third down. This is going to be absolutely disgusting. But when Miami was Miami, our defense and offensive line, but since we're talking about defensive line, has always been stacked. That's just one thing that we've always prided ourselves in, is having the ability to get after the pass rusher, fast, athletic, nasty defensive linemen. And it's something that gets you excited for the season to say that we legit have 4 guys that are absolute studs, and if they play at the potential, they will be the best defensive line group in America.
I'm already getting excited over this season coming up, Brian. I mean, it seems like we have all the right tools. We have the dream OC. We have the dream defensive line unit. We have all the skill players. What's missing from this team, Brian? What do you think concerns you in the 2020 season? Depth. Okay.
So you look at, we talked about the offensive line unit. I think that's my biggest concern. Any successful college football team has big men up front. That's what controls college football. You have to be able to control the line of scrimmage no matter what. So you look at our defensive line. We just talked about the 4 studs that we have. Can we have 4 to 5 defensive tackles that are able to rotate and the level of competition or level of play does not drop off? I don't know yet. We got John Ford, we got Netflix Bavaria, we got a couple other dudes that were able to rotate. Are the young guys going to be able to step up and keep that high level at the same when they come on the field? Offensive line, that's the biggest question mark. We were absolutely terrible last year. I mean, you just had dudes going by. I mean, we gave up 9 sacks in one game, 7 sacks in another game. Didn't give the quarterback anything. We couldn't get anything on 3rd and 1, 4th and 1. For this offense to be successful, that has to be the unit that's clicking in all motors, or we have to find 5 guys that at least can hold up a little bit. On defense, obviously you lose 2 stud linebackers in Shaq Quarterman and Michael Pinkney. You do bring back 1 linebacker with a lot of experience.
Yes.
Is he going to be able to be the play caller? Is he going to be able to put that young guy next to him in the right position? Because no matter what, it's going to be an inexperienced linebacker playing on the wheel linebacker position, because you're talking about potentially maybe Sam Brooks got into some last year. He's a guy that sideline to sideline can really fly. Is he going to be the guy? I think it was Ryan Ragnow, his name, that came in for Pinky when he was hurt. I don't think he's as athletic as some of the guys, but he's in the right position.
Okay.
At every single time. You have Avery Huff. He was a kid out of St. Thomas that I loved his film, and talking to one of my good friends, John Beeson, he's a guy that he really liked. He said he jumped off the film to him as well. So it's really about can Zach help out that young guy and be in the right position, because we have experience in the back end, we have experience up front. On defense is going to be that linebacker position, getting everybody lined up and be able to do the checks and calls. And on offense, to me, it's 100% offensive line. For 2020 to be successful, there are 2 areas that need to be successful. For this team to have, success that some people think they could have, but listen, we've been saying this the last couple of years. Oh yeah, the talent we have is going to be 10 wins, no problem, and you come out with 7 wins. So it's a lot. There's a lot of uncertainty, and I like other people I'm going to temper my expectations and not get too ahead of myself because, we didn't get the spring that we needed to implement this new offense. We didn't get, right now so far, the summer to keep going with this offense and getting the film room, getting on the field together because implementing a new offense is a lot. And getting that timing down with a whole new offense, a lot of new receivers, and who is the offensive lineman with a new offensive line coach, that's really going to hinder this growth that we could have had in spring and summertime. So whenever these, guys are able to get back, how quick can they pick up this offense? And, maybe we'll see some rust in the first couple of games, whether it's Temple and UAB and everybody else that we play. So we'll see. There's a lot of high expectations, I think, but I think those two positions really need to come out swinging for the team to have any success.
Brian, what's the expectation this year for Manny Diaz? I know last year was a season to forget and, to remember it in its own way. So what's your expectation for this team? Is it 9 wins? Kind of what's your season prediction?
I don't have a prediction right now. If I'm Manny Diaz, you're talking about win the Coastal and go to the SEC championship game and compete with Clemson. See where you're at with the cream of the crop of the ACC. Where do you stack up with a team like, Clemson? You look at the Coastal Division. Obviously, the sexy choice to pick right now is North Carolina.
Right.
They got a stud quarterback in Sam Howell. What Mac Brown's able to do with the recruiting classes that they've been able to bring in last year, and then this one they have going around. I think there's something like 2 or 3 in America. So he's done an amazing job on that. But you look back at that North Carolina game, and we're 4th and 13 away from beating that team and having another win on our season.
Yep.
We're a couple games and a kicker away from having another win or 2 and not being a 7-win, maybe being a 9 or 10-win season last year. I think looking at the year for 2020, it's more about those little things, right? If the defensive coordinator put in the right bracket call for that 4th and 13, you have to execute it as a corner and a slot corner instead of you guys both being on the opposite side of the guy and getting an out route free. So it's going to take the young man knowing, their playbook to execute. And then also, for me, we talk about it a lot this past year. Was it coaching? Was it players? And as a former player, players always tell you more that it's on the players, not the coaches. Because coaches can only give you so much for you to be successful, but you have to execute those plays.
Right.
Make your kicks. Linemen, pick up the right block, see the right hole. Defense, you have a bracket. Don't go on the inside, both of you. Go on the outside. Special teams, how do you let a fake punt against Georgia Tech throw it up on you instead of just hanging out, run through the whole entire play? So for me, I think it's a lot about these young men executing this playbook and knowing their calls for this team to be successful. I do think they brought in the right offensive coordinator and the right offensive line coach.
Yes.
They have a good defense from last year. They were top 15 again. They have the right defensive line. They got some guys in the back end. Blades comes back. Ivy comes back. Williams, Corey Couch will be pushing them for some playing time. I love our secondary. I hope our safeties. I hope Bubba can stay healthy because he's a game changer for me in the back end. He's a sure tackler. Amari Carter, he's got experience. If the striker position doesn't work out with Frierson, I would love to see Amari Carter get there. Or Keontre Smith from Chaminade, I think, will be an absolute stud in this defense, and Gervin Hall in the back end. But they have to execute the game plan, plain and simple.
Right. No, absolutely. Manny Diaz, he's just coaching. He's not kicking field goals. He's not catching passes. He's not throwing passes. So I completely get that. Do you think this is like a must-win season for Coach Diaz in the sense of just pressure from, in the football program, the fans? Is this a must-win season for him coming up, or do you think he's going to need his couple years to develop his program?
I think from the fans, it's a must-win season every year, right?
Right.
Because you're going to hear it from fans no matter what.
Absolutely.
What fans do. I think within the program, I don't think it's a make or break for him because I think they'll give him another year just to get some of his guys in as far as not saying he hasn't been here before, but he was recruiting mostly defensive guys before. Now he's the head coach. Now he's brought in a new offensive coordinator.
Right.
let's see how this offense starts in year one. Can we keep some of the local, South Florida receivers and running backs home because they say, hey, this is an offense that I can excel at. I can get a lot of touches in the offense. I believe unless he completely bombs this season, he'll be back for another year.
Right, absolutely. And I hope for that. I want Manny to succeed. And you want a coach that, is here for a little while. We tend to get rid of coaches after 3 or 4 years. It just doesn't pan out. I mean, credit to the coaches. They also are a little bit stubborn. They don't want to fire their guys. They're loyal to their staff. But, we did hire Manny, and I want to see him succeed. And I think he will succeed because he's not stubborn. He's aggressive, and he takes the best prospect available every single time with the transfer portal. That's something that I love. I strongly believe in take the best prospect available and don't rely on perhaps an underclassman to lead you to victory. So that's something I do appreciate from Manny Diaz. Hey, Brian, you going to go to a lot of games this season?
Well,
try to...
obviously, it's an uncertainty with
right. True.
the country that don't know if I can say yes. But I normally go to every single home game. I've gone to every single home game since I've left University of Miami. I think that's one of the amazing things that they do for alumni, and that's the reason why we have the best football fraternity in America. Is that we're always welcome back to games. We always get 2 tickets for the rest of our lives.
Oh, that's great.
Games,
yeah.
And have an alumni box where all the guys you played with, all the guys that you looked up to, your mentors, are there at the games. Manny Diaz has been gracious as far as opening up the locker room, the practice facility for guys to come back whenever, having the players pick brains of some of the older guys that have done it and done it at a high level, like bringing in the E. Reed hire, to me was one of the smartest things Manny could do because, you look at E. Reed, and one thing about, Ed that I learned so much about when he was at Miami is that he was the first one in the building when it came to our off-season workout program. He was working out Reggie Wayne and Andrew Swayze before we even got in there as freshmen. And you're just like, this dude is in his offseason in the NFL, and being a college player, you don't know that he didn't need to be there until you got the NFL or your friends playing the NFL to learn that in the offseason, you can work out whenever you want. You can literally work out at 5 o'clock in the night and go party and wake up. But the reason why he is a Hall of Famer now is his work ethic.
Wow.
And one thing that Ed would be able to help all these young men out with is work ethic because, every guy that I've been around that's been a great player, a Pro Bowl player, a Hall of Fame player, there's one thing that separates them from the rest, and that's their work ethic. Whether that's extra film, extra cardio, extra, weight training, their work ethic separated them no matter what. You could just see there was something different in them. And you look at Ed, and he's got that. No matter what, he's got that. He's going to be able to show the secondary, the defensive players, how do you watch film. He's going to show the offensive players how to watch film, too, because there's a reason why Bill Belichick said he was his worst nightmare because he used to trick quarterbacks. So he'd be able to show the quarterback what the secondary is doing. He'd be able to show the wide receiver, do your route like this or not do it like this because you'll confuse the secondary. Then also his ability to see talent and identify talent and show Manny Diaz, hey, look, this young man right here can be something special at the U. You guys should look at film for him. And then when it comes to recruiting, come on, what kid and parents aren't going to want to sit down and pick his brain and be like, okay, if my son comes here, what can I expect? And then Ed just goes through everything, and you got to be like, well, he's a, 10-time Pro Bowler. He's an All-Pro. He's a Defensive Player of the Year. He's an MVP. He's a Super Bowl champ, and he's now in the Hall of Fame. Yeah, I think that's a guy that my son can, one, mentor his game after, but also learn so much about football and also just in life because when it comes down to it, a lot of these young men aren't going to be fortunate to make the NFL or make a real career in the NFL where you have life-changing money. But someone like Ed would be able to help you, one, be successful after football. Getting a degree
right.
in University of Miami opens up so many doors. But now the life after football, hey, we're talking about money. We'll talk about finances and do this and do that. Like that's huge, especially when it comes to college kids because, you think you're the biggest of the big. Nothing can stop you now. And, we're all going to the NFL, but in hindsight, a lot of them don't go into it. But it's definitely going to help that program out so much. And trust me, these young men are not going to want to be slacking in no meetings, in no film room, in no practice field with Ed lurking the hallways.
No, yeah, that Ed Reed being hired at Miami. I know a lot of people wanted Alonzo Highsmith, but Ed Reed was just, I think it's the icing on the cake. And all you need at the end of the day, if a recruit, he's deciding whether, okay, Miami or let's say Ohio State. Well, my last phone call was with Ed Reed. Look at Avante Williams, for example. I mean, hey, I don't know if that had something to do with it, last minute flip, but ultimately, I think that's the best recruiting tool you can get in a football program.
Yeah, I mean, I look at Zoe, and I just don't think the position that Miami wanted to hire was good for Zoe, right? Zoe was talking about coming from being assistant GM in the NFL. Now you're coming to be the assistant to the head coach as a first-year coach.
Right.
I think Zoe wanted to be more of like athletic director, a general manager in the NFL. All more shots like that. I also think that for the young men that are recruiting now, Ed Reed is more of an allure than Alonzo Highsmith because none of these kids really know who Alonzo Highsmith is because they weren't born when Alonzo was tearing it up at the U. Everybody knows Ed Reed still because he just got inducted into the Hall of Fame. He didn't retire that much long ago, and he also was a coach for the Under Armour All-America game, so he's kept his feet on the ground level for these high school kids, middle school kids. So the allure of talking to an Ed Reed over Alonzo Highsmith, I think, is more attractive to the kids. Now, as far as Alonzo's done it at a high level. Green Bay, Cleveland, knows the ins and outs. But I think the position for what Miami is looking for wasn't for Zoe. Could we have greatly helped out the U? Of course it could have, but I just don't think it was the right position for Zoe. And, you look at, like you just mentioned, Avante Williams, the safety that committed Ed Reed. Of course, it definitely helped out, but everything I heard, I felt like, from what I was told, it was a relationship with Banda.
Awesome.
That, what's his full name again?
Ephraim? Yes.
Banda?
Yes.
Yeah. His relationship going back to his sophomore year is really what sealed the deal.
Nice.
And I know our coaches get a lot of flack, right? Obviously, because they've missed on some South Florida recruits. But it's tough nowadays recruiting, man.
Yeah.
Like, talking to these kids and what goes on in college football, man, it's tough for some of our coaches. And I think our coaches have done a really good job, especially our secondary coaches, because I feel like they're the ones that get the most flack.
Right.
They brought in 4-star corners and 4-star safeties, and I know there's been some misses on some of these, big time recruits. I think it was most recently Tyson Campbell, Patrick Surtain.
Yep.
You look at the school they went to, and you're talking about Alabama, who's been in multiple national championships. Georgia was just in a national championship. The only way that we're going to convince those 5-stars and really high 4-stars to stay home, they got to start winning again. Winning again. It's plain and simple. The first thing that comes out of the recruit's mouth, I want to win, and I want to go to the NFL. Well, we put in a lot of kids in the NFL. Unfortunately, we have not been winning on a consistent level. So until we get to that winning at consistent level, we're not going to be able to keep all these kids at home, and it sucks. And I know fans are pissed off about it, but you got to win. So it'll be interesting. I think the coaches have done a good job keeping them, a lot of the talent home, but again, it's impossible to keep all the talent in South Florida. It's just we don't have enough spots for them, and some guys want to go away. Like recruits, they have different things. Like if you've been in Miami your whole entire life, I want to see something different,
right?
Or I want to play in the SEC. So it's hard to keep all the recruits home. I think you got this new offense. If we can put up a lot of points on the board, if Gregory Rousseau and that defensive line starts having crazy sacks, then you'll start piquing the interest a lot more of the South Florida talent to stay home.
No, I think you perfectly said it, Brian. Absolutely. Now, I don't understand why some kids go to Nebraska, but hey, that's another story. But Brian, man, thank you.
Listen,
yeah, go ahead.
The bag men are heavy around these streets, man. When it comes down to it, people can believe it or not, but that goes on all over the place.
Right.
All over the place. So it's hard to compete with some of the SEC and some of that money out there. So no matter what, some of these young men got to do what they got to do for, as they say on their recruiting pitches. I got to do what's best for my family, aka I got to get paid. So I understand it. Hey, man, do what you got to do. But if Miami gets back to their winning ways, you will see a lot of these young men stay home.
No, I get it, Brian. Absolutely. And hopefully, we start winning this upcoming season. I think we will. Hey, Brian, are you still a bachelor in Miami?
Oh, yeah, man. It's Miami, man. It's tough to lock myself down. You're like a king.
Hey,
I love this story.
The reason why I asked that, last time I saw you was the Notre Dame game. I stepped out and, in that little walking ring thing they got, whatever. I missed the Orange Bowl, so I hate Hard Rock. You were with like a group of blonde girls, man. So I was thinking your next maybe business venture, you can do a bus from Brickell and just pick up all your girls, man. Just send them off to Hard Rock with you.
Yeah, I mean, like that's one thing I say to Miami for, man. The ladies, they're not too bad in our city, and the one thing, like I mentioned at the beginning, is that we have so much culture down here, right? Because coming from Palm Beach, it's really not Miami. Now it's a little bit different now because people have moved up north. But literally, when I grew up, it was like white, black, Mexican. Not being discriminative or anything else like that. It's just we didn't have that.
Right.
Like when I came down here, I got to meet Dominican women. I got to meet Cuban women. I got to meet, different Caribbean women and people from the South America and, Argentinian, Colombian, Brazilian. And I'm like, whoa, man, I'm in Publix right now. This is amazing. So it literally opened my eyes to so many, like, beautiful things on here that's the reason why I'm still single. Like, my first girlfriend, I guess, down here she was Cuban.
Okay.
And I feel like I'm drawn to a lot of Cubans for whatever reason. And, I don't discriminate though. That day you just caught me with the blonde, but I don't discriminate.
Hey, Brian, that should be the recruiting pitch for every recruit that comes and visits Coral Gables, man. That's awesome, man. And thank you so much for calling, Brian. You killed it. And many blessings to you and your loved ones in this uncertain times. And, man, stay away from the rain, too.
Yeah, listen, it's funny you mentioned that. And it's not always about, the recruits when they come down here and they see it. Because I've seen, especially when I was back in the days hosting recruits with my roommates, stuff like that. And nowadays, seeing a young man that practice and stuff like that, they love it. They go out, they see all the beautiful women, they see the ocean and stuff like that. And they're like, wow, this is what you guys do down here? Like, yeah, man, it's a great time, but a lot of times the parents are like,
yeah,
I don't know if I can send my son here into all of this beautiful sunshine and stuff like that. But I think, the staff they put together, bringing E. on, I think it's going to make a lot of the parents more comfortable with everything that goes on in Miami. You see the success rate, the kids graduating and also the grades that are coming out, the different things they're successful at as far as grade point average, I think it's APR and stuff like that. So they're doing an amazing job with that, and I'm eager to see exactly what this new offense will look like, what De'Aaron King can do in that offense, and hopefully, I got my fingers crossed, I'm praying, we will be able to enjoy this in the stadium somehow, because now we finally have an electric quarterback, and if you tell me I can't even get in the stadium and see it, I'm going to be pissed off.
I'll be on the same boat with you, Brian. Hey, man, appreciate your time. All right, man, peace.
Yeah, stay safe out there.
Thank you, man. You too. All right, everyone. That was Brian Monroe, Miami Hurricanes punter from 2003 to 2006. And he works for 560 The Joe now. I always call it WQAM, and 790 The Ticket for just radio personality and post-game locker room show. Hope everyone enjoyed both live shows, and everything is recorded, guys. Hope everyone stays safe, has a great rest of their day, and always all about the U.